Alice Taylor, and I'm a non-binary person, and I call myself a divine androgen. Be like saying that you're a monk or a practitioner of magic or something like that. Maybe it depends on what path you walk. See, one of the things I noticed as I started to come out and started to identify as non-binary, I started to realize that there was no spiritual path for people like me. There were some things like indigenous people, but I don't want to culturally appropriate. I didn't grow up on a reservation. And I think Two-Spirit is great, and I want them to keep it. And I felt like I had to define my own path, because I didn't have a huge background in these things. And so I started to explore things. And, of course, some religions shame us, right? And then there's some religions that don't even include us, like Wicca. I went to many rituals, and never, not once, did they mention someone that was both or neither gender or god or goddess. Unless you asked, and then they would often have a goddess or something. But there was no language for it. And so as I started my own spiritual path, my own path of holistic learning, I learned that I really needed a spiritual path in order to be who I was. I felt like it was part of humanity. It was part of being a human. And I needed to be celebrated in my spiritual path. I needed to be seen, and I didn't want any of the shame. So that's not for me. That's theirs. And so as I started to unfold, I started to realize that I had my own path, and each one of us actually do. You do. Everybody does. Has their own spiritual path that they're to unlock. Your authenticity is in your heart, just like it was in mine. There were some things I had to go through to unlock those keys, to get closer to who I really was inside. Because all of us are divine conscious beings, and you have to work through some weird stuff sometimes, like cultural norms, and gender roles, and mental health and the crap your parents programmed in there. Sometimes we have to unfold that out. And when we do, we get to an authentic person when we move through those surface things. And when we find our authenticity, we can go deeper. We can love deeper. We can love ourselves deeper. We can love other people deeper. And we can enjoy our life fuller and more, and feel more complete by the time it comes time to, end, because we all die. None of us get out of alive. So just consider, as you start to identify and find your gender is not something that was given, that is not something that was assigned to you when you were born. As you start to realize your gender expression, no matter what it is, I'm talking to the drag queens, the drag kings, the gay guys, transgender people, non-binary people, gender-neutral people, all of us, we're all here for a reason. The divine sent us here. We're all here to define our own path, make it what it is. Follow that part of you that doesn't follow the rules, the part of you that doesn't do what other people are doing, because that part of you will lead you to the path you need to be on, and you will manifest the beautiful things that the world desperately needs. All of us are where we need you. We need you to step up and bring your most beautiful light to the world. And I hope that that's what this book does. That my book, Divine Androgen, A Sacred Path for Gender Variant People, and this channel will inspire you to find out who you are and open it up to the world and deliver it. As if we were all waiting for it, but we didn't know what we were waiting for exactly. Show us what that is.
Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So what exactly does that mean? It is a figure of speech in reference to a person who has dabbled in many things rather than gaining expertise by only focusing on one. So much knowledge and wisdom out there at our fingertips, yet so difficult to grasp. Everything and everyone has a little piece of the truth, and it is up to us to determine what our truth is. In this busy world, creating the time, the space to nourish our bodies, mind, and soul has become a difficult task. So let's take a moment to learn something small, in whatever way the universe decides to reveal it. It could be someone's story, a quote, a spiritual practice, maybe a song or a movie. The opportunities are limitless and all around us if we just take a moment to see. We are all students of life experiences, so let us learn from one another. There is no right or wrong path. There is only your path and your journey. So let's begin our adventure and explore all the world has to offer, and let us become a master of none.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul, an explorative discussion about spirituality beyond mainstream religions. Hollis Taylor, author, psychic, astrologer, and alchemical mage, brings their non-binary perspective together with fellow drag king and trans man Lacrosse Ortiz, a Jewish Taino with spiritual background of exploration that has led him to an atheist perspective. Join these guys as they explore deep and difficult topics, all related to spirituality, offering a queer perspective, an exploration of interesting topics, and engaging guests to help explore conversations for the Rainbow Soul.
Hey,
Hello. How are you?
welcome. Oh, I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good.
I'm so glad you're here and glad everybody's here tonight. This is an exciting night, and we're at Rainbow Soul. This is Rainbow Soul. Thanks for watching. I'm Hollis Taylor. I am the author of Divine Androgyny, a sacred path for gender variant people. And I'm also a psychic, a medium, an astrologer, and a tarot reader. You can find out more about me at divineandrogen.com. Yes, I do coaching and mentoring. And this here is my friend Lacrosse. Lacrosse, how about you tell us about yourself?
Hi, I'm Lacrosse Ortiz. I am the host of Master of None, soon to be fully airing soon. I am a Jewish Taino atheist, which, yeah, that's a lot to say in one sentence. I just don't believe that you need a supreme being to dictate your spiritual journey or exist in a spiritual journey. It's irrelevant. It's your journey. So, yeah, that's me.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and I totally resonate with your that you don't need a supreme being. I'm not really a supreme being type of person. I'm more of a elements and nature type of thing.
Right.
And I believe in the energy of the universe.
Exactly.
So I totally get that. And so one of the things that I'm not sure people are totally aware of is that often it is hard to get yourself out there as an artist, as a coach, or as an author, whatever you do. It's hard to get yourself out there, number one. And number two, as a consumer of those things, it's even hard to find people. Like, I have a hard time finding non-binary people to do art or this or that, just anything. If you're looking to buy art, or if you're looking to employ somebody, it's sometimes hard to look for, like, well, would I want to hire a non-binary person to do this for me, right? To edit my videos or whatever. It's hard to find And so one of the things at Rainbow Soul that I think is pretty awesome that we do is we give a platform for queer people to come forward and show who they are, to tell us who they are, and to help us understand what they offer the world and what they're bringing to the world. And I think that's pretty darn important.
Oh, yeah.
Because it seems to me that that we're having a hard time like communing everybody, right? Getting everybody together. And it's so interesting because in Facebook groups, I'll be talking to non-binary people and they'll say, I don't have any non-binary friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, geez. And so I just want to say that we're here to build community so that we have a group. And when we interact with you in the audience, the people watching, and we even feature people that watch our show regularly. And we feature them because we want you to get to know each other. We
Right.
want you to know what kind of people you're hanging out with online. Isn't that nice to know those things?
Oh, absolutely. Here I living in Lancaster, it's such a big deal about shop local, support businesses that are local, but that also goes within the trans community. We need to support each other and we need outlets and we need to make space for other people within the community to be able to show their work, show what they do and what they can offer to the community. If you could do it for local shopping of your local, business people, we should do it for even more so for our community, and I feel you because I know I have trans people who are in my life, but there's not a lot, I don't have a lot of friends myself, to find even just transgender people. So,
Right. And there's plenty of us out there. So
oh
I
yeah,
feel like wow, well, let's start connecting. And so connecting the dots is part of the hard part, I suppose. But so that's one of the reasons that you'll see on our show on Rainbow Soul, we'll feature variety of people. And if you're one of those people that's looking for a place to present your offering to the world, whatever it may be, please reach out to us. Okay. And so tonight, one of the people that watches our show regularly, I happen to find out that, okay, so they're a drag king. That's pretty awesome, right? And that they're non-binary, and that's pretty awesome. I'm like, okay, well, we were already on the same page. And but they're also spiritual and they're an artist.
right.
And all of those things seem so magical to me. And so so I was like, wow, this is great that, and that they're spiritual even, and in some of the similar ways that we are, Lacrosse. So I want to bring out our guest tonight, which is Jamie Angel. Everybody meet Jamie Angel. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Good to
Hey,
see you all.
Jamie, why don't you tell us about who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I'm an individual with multiple disabilities. If you see me looking back and forth, that's because I have this program up on the computer while using the laptop because the StreamYard is not showing the captions, but the regular stream is showing them. So that's one of those things. It's one of those things where when you have multiple disabilities, trying to juggle all of them to, I have cerebral palsy, so I'm in a wheelchair most of the time, and that when I'm not in bed, I'm in the wheelchair. So it's one of those things where trying to find a comfortable place to sit and everything maybe is important too. So yes, it becomes very interesting, and I could go down the list. I also, do have ADHD and some other things that, many of us live with from day to day. I've been doing drag performance now for a little over a year. So the first one, the first time I had done it was for the Equality Fest down in York. and I had done some performances for the program itself, and also competed in the Regent pageant, and so that was kind of what first started me on that part of things and stuff. I am a non-binary individual. It's one of those things where you live life knowing things aren't quite, the same as for everybody else, but you figure that you kind of the message that you get from others telling you that you're defective, you start to believe for yourself, type of thing. And that's and so it's like anything that doesn't feel quite right, oh, it's probably just because there's something wrong with me, type of things. And when you have disabilities, it's like it just kind of tends to go to, okay, it's just me. And of course, I grew up in a very strict Christian household, so was not exposed to a lot of things that my peers were. And then from the time that I was in 8th grade on, I was homeschooled because of some problems I had been having in the public school system and such. So my life took a number of twists and turns and stuff, and not having really the vocabulary to identify what was going on. It's only been a number of years, several years now, since I had really started to figure out and put things together and such, maybe over the past 5 to 10 years. Bits and pieces of things started to all come together and make sense. And so and of course, for me, one of the things is, once you've got the words for it, it's like you start to, if there's words for it, that means other people experience it. And so then it's like, okay, so then it's a case of just finding the others with the same similar experiences and recognizing they may not all be identical experiences, but how you can work with each other and at least build on the shared parts of the experience and still bring diversity to those experiences. And I think the performance, I've always enjoyed doing performing and things. In the past, I used to do clowning and such years ago. So in some ways, it's kind of like, coming back to some of the things that I used to enjoy doing. So, and one of the areas that I've done a lot of outreach to others with, and that is in the area of domestic violence and such, because I'm a survivor of that. So coming back around to things that I enjoyed doing after, and that is an important part of the healing process, because it was 11 years ago that I left that situation. So now it's like a lot of the things that, I had enjoyed, but had gotten kind of purged out of my system back then. Some of them, grew back naturally over time as I had, earlier on, and that after I was out of that situation. And some things is more like, okay, it's all coming back in different aspects this time and stuff, because being disabled, I've always had some disabilities, but some of those things, had become more profound in my late teens and early 20s. And so with that, there are things like the clowning. I had done that back when I still had some hearing. So it's one of those things that, those different aspects. And I had wondered, with drag, it was like, okay, I've done sacred dance without having hearing, and that, and using tactile sensations and measuring it out and doing it from, seated position and things like that. So maybe I could I? And that was like, was not real certain. So the first number that I actually performed was This Is Me. And so
nice.
And because the character that did it had a beard, I made my own beard out of some of the hair that I had trimmed. I tend to save my hair trims for creative purposes and such. And so that was, so I had one, my beard was actually made from my own hair. It itched. And I was told, yeah, beards will itch. So I'm sure that it should do plenty. I'm like, yep, it did. And, my specialist was like, welcome to the world of guys.
That's right. Yeah.
Made me feel good. So helping others who've been through domestic violence situations, and, ministry to the practical needs in that way has been an important part of my life. I have done some religious services in nursing home. Well, not really a nursing home, more of a group home, I would say, over in Lancaster years ago, while we were living while I was living in that town there. That was back while I was still with my ex-husband, and that. But it was a good experience, and since then I've done a lot more, one-on-one type of outreach type of things. Though I have talked with others about starting back up with some study groups that we've done in the past. One of the groups that I had enjoyed being a part of for a while, and there was another couple that had been coming, and then we'd have some people that would pop in, but it wasn't real regular type of thing, that we'd have guests, was a rune study group. And so that was, something that, those who were involved were people who were already experienced. So I am thinking about restarting it now that I've got a number of people that are not experienced with runes but are interested in runes. So that has been an exciting thing happening in that as well. And so I like to, a lot of people that I work with are people who maybe grew up in religious households but are still trying to find their way, and that because they don't feel like they fit with what they grew up with. And some of them are just like, I don't know if I fit anywhere. And some may be like, I really need to find where I fit after this. And so one of the things that I have been able to do is I seem to have a natural mediator energy to me. And so it's like a lot of times I'm able to help people to bridge gaps, whether it has to do with sign language, which I had actually at one point been involved with a deaf social, and there were people who came from group homes, but they did not have the same language skills to be able to communicate. But I was able to find this one book that I had gotten back when my brother was younger, called Signs for Me. That book is an excellent resource because it has in the back of that book an index set that is in a variety of languages. And that particular individual was Spanish, and he having hearing impairments and such affected him. But there was also some intellectual disabilities. But more importantly, it was just language barriers in general, not having the word that matches with the image type of situation. Just like I had been mentioning earlier with, LGBTQ things, it's like, you can feel it, but until you know what to call it, what is it? And so for this person, when I was able to take and use that particular book, I was able then, okay, here's the sign. So showing him hermano, brother, in ASL, along with, and taking it from with the ASL to the Spanish, instead of trying to show him an English word that it's like he did not have the connection to. And so, and whether it be those kind of situations where I'm able to find resources that help people with accessibility, or whether it's situations where people come from a religious background that was very strict and they want to find something that resonates with them. And some people, it's like, I want something that resonates with them. I'm not sure I want to give up everything I believed before, because there are certain elements, but how do I reconcile this and that? And so helping to show paths that are possible, and telling somebody, I can't say which one is right for you. Only you and whatever divine you believe in can determine that particular thing. But what I can do is help you to at least be aware of what options you have, and be able to, befriend you and be there if you need to talk while you're exploring.
Wow, I'm just gonna say, Jamie, you totally blew my mind. You're so amazing and incredibly talented, and being able to help people like in domestic violence situations is really special, and definitely a special calling, no doubt. Um, and to be able to help people with that spiritual thing, like I'm sure maybe even you struggled with it, Lacrosse. I don't know. When you come from a really controlling, strict religious household, almost like a cult. There is a Christian cult. There's definitely lots of Christian cults.
Yeah.
And they can be really controlling and really bend your brain around in a way that's my mom was a little bit into that kind of stuff. But she didn't go deep into that until I went into witchcraft and I was an adult. And then she went real deep, gave me a Bible, and I was like, and she gave me a Bible for Christmas, so I won't include what I did with that Bible. but and then I had to come out to her as a witch. I'm like, I'm a witch, and I don't know, you're born again. I don't know what to do with that. But I understand that some people, I've watched some TikTok where people are talking about their strict, what they grew up in and how their parents, like they came out to their parents and their parents did some crazy ass shit to them. All based on their religion. Did you struggle with your belief system, Lacrosse, when you realized you weren't Christian?
Oh, big time. It almost to the sense of when I would do anything, there was so much guilt. Guilt and religion runs hand in hand. That's like, they're buddies. And I knew like deep down in my heart, I didn't really believe, but it's like I had to kind of go with the flow because everybody else believed. And since we all want to be accepted, well, okay, I believe too. And then when I finally came to terms with, I just don't buy this stuff. I just don't believe it. And that was a big, like, I think my mother, to say, would have preferred I would have came out as anything but Jewish. And when I told her I was going to return to Judaism, that we came from a long line of Jews, she was just like I had just killed her. It was horrible. Like, you're going to hell, this and that, and here and there. And I'm like, but wait, wasn't Jesus Jewish? Am I missing something? But yeah, but it ended up really causing a lot of problems with me, because it's like everything I did, I'm like, oh, something bad's going to happen to me because I don't believe in God, or something bad's going to happen to my kids because I don't, because this is how it works. The big guy in the sky with the lightning bolt to shoot me. And it took me a while till I came to the terms I'm atheist and God's irrelevant.
And I think that's perfectly valid identity.
Yeah.
And I love your conclusion, Jamie, which is that like no matter what the person no matter what the person like brings to you, you are like, only you know the answer, only you can define your path. I totally agree. That's exactly what I communicate in divine androgyny, is that only you can define your own path. Only you can tell what vibrates well. And each one of us are unique, right? Like each one of us is so different. So I think what you're doing there, Jamie, is beautiful and amazing. And I love your drag king. I love this. I love the way you look. It kind of reminds me of what's his name that was a pirate? Johnny Depp.
Ah, definitely.
Well, that one before. This is kind of what I would say is my more default drag mode. As I have said, and as both of you, I'm sure, can relate. Sometimes there's times where you feel like your drag persona is more real than the person you wear the rest of the time, and that in the sense that when you're not fully out to everyone, or you're in a situations where certain things are still in process and stuff, that it's not always the same thing where it's like, okay, I always look this way. Now, for me, it's like as time has gone on, and COVID, I think, has been also helpful in giving me a little more confidence than I might have had otherwise, because there's a lot of times, let's face it, with COVID, you only see from here up. So you got a lot of experimenting you can do. And
yeah, and
I
so
come across with so many people is that it is interesting how many transgender individuals and non-binary individuals somewhere along the pathways there have been like, okay, nobody's going to see if I'm wearing makeup, what kind of makeup I'm wearing, and all those things. And so I think it's actually given people a sense of safety to actually start getting to know themselves and make friends with themselves. And so it's like, it was a horrible thing to have to deal with, but at least if some positive things can come from it, I think that's one of the things I see is possibly a positive that'll come out of some of that. And I know, like, as I have been doing drag and as I've been developing, one of the things online, there's a lot of good videos and things on how to do non-binary makeup or more masculine makeup, because a lot of times when you're AFAB, you learn how to do your makeup, and like, if you don't have really perfect complexion, like some of the lucky people that I knew had great complexions and I always envied them. I was blessed with the dots, freckles and zits. Not a fun combination. And so it's like, I never felt good enough or pretty enough. So, but it's like, when you're dealing with blemishes, it's not even necessarily what other people see. And that, because, when you're a kid, other people are really rude. At least when you start getting to adult, there are, there's still some rude adults, but there's a lot more people that really don't really care what you look like. They'll ignore you or treat you like dirt for many other reasons, just in the way your makeup is. So it's one of those things, where for me, going without makeup sometimes was okay. Sometimes I, see myself in the mirror and be like black, because without the makeup, the foundations at least, I felt like my face was not the way I wanted it because of blemishes and such. So it was a saving grace for me to find some, more masculine makeup tips and some non-binary makeup tips. And so that has helped a lot in developing a style that, is what I would call, what I would classify as maybe transitional drag, where it starts out, a little more, pageant drag. So you're wanting to look, as close to what I might say an accurate presentation type of sense at that point of, the mental thing of looking good enough to pass is kind of the mentality that I kind of had started out in a lot of times with that kind of thing. And so it's like, but it's like, over time, it's kind of more like, okay, what works for me and what makes me feel good. And some days my makeup is more feminine and some days more masculine. And some days it's not on at all. And being able to kind of feel like that's okay, because for a while there, it was like, I felt like I started to feel like I was at the point of having, only doing the masculine style, somewhat because I was at the point of muscle memory. So doing, okay, the dark light which is opposite of way, you tend to do it for the, more feminine look. So it's like, there've been times where, oh crap, I did, well, that's the way it's going to be today, And so, starting to, see what works for you and what, resonates and makes you happy kind of thing, has really helped a lot.
Yeah, you have here we have Facebook. I don't know who this person is, Facebook user. You have to enable StreamYard on your Facebook. But truth, when I started wearing my beard in life, my preschoolers were so accepting. They would ask me why I had it, and I would tell them that's just how my body is, and they would accept that. I think kids are so cute in that way.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know who that is? Yeah. And Sandy, I'm right there with you, Sandy. I never judge people on their looks. I go by them just being a decent person, period. I totally agree. And I think that's what happens in maturity. Like, as we mature, it's there's something that happens to us that we don't judge on looks anymore. Thank goodness that we grow out of that, because that would really get us in some big trouble, actually. So in my opinion, and I can't stand, I've done drag, and I use my hair too, by the way, Jamie. And I actually can't stand makeup. I can't stand the way it feels. I don't like putting it on. And it, I don't know why I don't. I've never liked it. Even when I was young and they told me I had to be a girl, so I had to wear makeup, I was like, eh. And when they said I had to wear makeup as a drag king, I'm like, all right.
I was actually disappointed, because they're just like, well, you have to do it for contouring and this and that. And sadly, I cheated. I never contoured. I'm just like, no, unless it's an actual like character, that I'm doing. I don't contour. And I was actually very fortunate. I really didn't need to. So I was like, okay, this is good. But when you think about it, it's a mask. That's what drag is. It's a mask. It's a mask we wear that we wouldn't wear on a day-to-day, and you can get away with it. And actually, people think you're putting on this mask because you're trying to hide who you are. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you're wearing the mask because that is who you are. Mm-hmm. And you can actually be more free to be yourself with that makeup on.
Yeah. And a lot of times when that happens, it's like, it doesn't mean that there starts to be a point where you start to merge the path down a bit more, and that and that a lot of times if it's a person who is, non-binary or transgender in some aspect of that spectrum, then a lot of times that after a point, it's like the drag persona starts to give you enough confidence to, progress and such. I was fortunate because as far as the schooling, when I had gotten to the point of going to school, I actually went to one of the most liberal of the Christian colleges. And what they taught me there was to learn to question everything. So I did. And that's where it's gotten me. But you know what? It's like when it comes to, the wearings of masks and things like that in, drag and things like that, it's something that, it's still one of those things where, that there are some people that I'm at the point that, I live my life on my terms, and I'm not coming out to them specifically, because my take on it is, if I come out as anything to them specifically, what is the point of that if I know that they definitely will not accept it? And it has been made clear that in other situations that would not be something that they'd ever accept. So at some points it's like, okay, I know what this person's stance is, rather than giving them a platform to blah 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 at me. I'm just going to live my life. Because
I usually just get distance from those people. I just don't go around them.
Yeah. And that's
what did you say, Lacrosse? You do this.
Poof. Banished out of my kingdom. Poof. That's what I do. Poof.
Art has been one of the things that has helped to heal me over the years in a lot of ways, in fact. Because it's like, I find, some of my art is more, exacting, but a lot of my art tends to be on the abstract spectrums. And it's like, oftentimes images will begin to appear in my works, whether I've, known that they were there or not is a whole nother matter. because like a lot of my paintings, it's like energy work comes through them. And one of the most interesting things is where I'm at in Mechanicsburg here, there is a place right down the street, Metropolis. Before we actually moved to this area, I actually had done a done painting there when they had their of Carnivals and Kings event, and I was painting by foot there. Right next to where they had the card reader set up. Yeah, that was real interesting. The energy was just like there was one painting that it really kind of nearly knocked me over type of thing, because it was like, it kind of freaked me out because I had suddenly had this image of somebody drowning. It hit me, and I have, had no, real relation to it, but being right next to where you had about 20 people lined up to see the reader, it's like, okay, great. I'm working on these paintings and that, and the energy is flowing around the room, and it just hit me, okay, type of thing. But I was trying, for some reason, it's like part of me did not want to paint this particular thing with water and stuff, because I had been painting something with water, and then this image, at one point, just before this image hit, I had just put in some water, and then all of a sudden there was this image, and so I ended up turning the painting. I'm trying to remember if I turned the painting then. No, I didn't turn the painting then. I just started painting on a different angle with my foot, and ended up turning back. When I finished with it, I looked at it from the opposite angle and nearly freaked out, because the man that I had seen that was drowning, I could see the image of him in the inverse, in the inverted thing of that particular canvas. And so, yeah, I was really kind of weirded out by that one, because it was a little too much energy at one time. So,
well, I'm looking at some of your art here, and I want to show, like, the fact that you do art with your feet, I think is, first of all, profoundly inspiring, because that says even if one thing doesn't work out well for you, try it a different way. There's always a way. And I feel like that's kind of your message in doing this.
I work with whatever's working that day. So I've painted with hand, painted with foot, painted with mouth. And then there was the time that I decided to really get creative and prove the fallacy of a commercial video. And that was when Willow Smith did I Whip My Hair, and she had her hair in the braids or ponytails, and she's whipping her hair around, and the paint's only going where it's intended to go. I'm like, that's so not what would happen. So I put my hair in all kinds of braids, and I started doing dip and other things. I probably did a little more than I should have, because I was suffering a few days after that one. But the painting that I had done had ended up where it was like, I had the paint all over me and everything. I did it in the shower, because I knew that was the only place to reasonably do something like that, because I knew it was going to be everywhere. But then it got to the point where it was like, with the way it was done, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have some fun with this. Like, obviously, it's not. This part even just proves that Cam's that neat. But now that I've got paint all over me, I'm going to paint with everything except my hands, type of thing. Basically, the only thing the hands were allowed to do was hold the canvas. So I had paint had gotten on my nose, on my forehead, So I just allowing the canvas to touch throughout and get different prints and things. And I call it She Rides, because on the one angle it looks like a woman on a motorcycle, but it's a 4-angle painting, which many of my paintings are. So technically you can hang it from any of the 4 directions and it will show you something different. So my paintings that are like that are never boring, because if you get tired of an angle, flip it
around. That's fabulous. I want to show off some of your art here. I downloaded the images you gave me. This one here. And I'll tell you, there was one that was like, I was kind of like, that one's interesting. And you can see lots of, it's exactly what you said. You can flip it around and see something different. And this one I was really inspired by. I like shapes and I have a Virgo. I'm a Virgo, so I tend to like little compartmental, and it kind of reminded me of the moon. And so I really like this one.
If you flip that one the opposite way, you'll see a sarcophagus.
Oh, wow. And this one.
Now, those first two were based on were actually sigil arts.
These two. Okay.
Those first two are forms of sigil arts. There were sigils in those with the letterings that gotten put the intentions into. That third one is based on a book by a friend of mine. I don't know if I've got the book. The book is by Phil Farber. It's called The Great Purple Hoo-Ha.
Okay.
It's
The Great Purple Hoo-Ha. Let me take this down.
Two-part book. Two books to make that thing up. And it is great. It takes he also had written a book called Brain Magic, and it basically discuss the magical principles and its connection to the brain as well, and how like some of these things like how our attention can help to how attention is one of the things that focuses things magically at times and such, and also how you can use the neurolinguistic programming type of techniques that are taught in Brain Magic basically and that are basically the same things that are woven into the book. So it's a fun way of learning exercises that could actually help you to replace habits that you're struggling with, or different things like that. So it's a really interesting piece. And as I finished reading that one, the night I finished reading it for, I think it was like the second or third time, I had that night, it was like I had that dream, and so I had done that with oil pastels.
You're on mute.
I really appreciate that. It's really amazing. Like, I appreciate all of your art here. I appreciate that book. I never heard of it before. That's pretty cool. Now, you said this one and this one, you had sigils with intention in them.
Yeah. I honestly do not remember what that second one was for. The first one I call brewing up success. That was to become a successful, it was my will to become a successful artist.
Wow. Okay. And so you sort of use those symbols to bring out that that intention in your art, which is magical art, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And then there's this one.
That one there is a slightly different exercise that I had done. I've enjoyed doing a number of things of art pieces working with runes and doing bind runes with them. So like I've done several of these where I'll start with drawing a rune, and they can be on different angles and such, because what I'm doing is using the various runes to build pictures. So like this one has Laguz down at the bottom with Berkan and sitting on top of it. You have Pertho, who forms the base of a person, with Wanyo forming the head. And so it's like, each aspect of each of these various aspects get combined differently anytime you're doing those. But it's one of those things where it's kind of a wonderfully fun way to kind of connect with different runes at different times and just see how they interconnect in a visual sensation and that. And so like I believe when I did that, we were at the point where we were still hoping to find a better home, and that, or to find a home, because I believe that may have been during the time that we were displaced. And so I had done the, had definitely had some of the energy work with the house, kind of building together with a number of the runes that were, related in that. So
That's fabulous. I really love that you use the runes. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and here's another one.
This one was a real fun one to do, because instead of doing that one with English letters in the sigil, I actually used the Elder Futhark, and that, so each of the letters that would have been done in English instead were done in the runic equivalents. And I call this one actually the Ganesha barn, because the one part looks like a barn and the other part looks kind of like an elephant connected to it, connecting the front part of it. So, and it's one that kind of represents the concepts that we were dealing with at the time. We were a lot of obstacles in our lives, and lack in various areas. And so when it came out like that, when I saw that after I finished it, I was like, that's a Ganesha barn. It's a barn to store the resources, with Ganesha to move out some obstacles. So it's
wow,
that's
really awesome.
I never know what my paintings will decide they want to be, but I used to get annoyed when I would plan a painting to go one way, and then all of a sudden it would go some sideways and that, and I'd see it screwed up. Then I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll let it decide what it wants to be. And then that's when my paintings got real interesting.
Wow, that's really awesome. I really appreciate your sharing your art with us, and your intention and the magic in it and all that, because that's really magical art. It's really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. How about this one here?
This one here, I do not remember the actual intention behind that one. And see, that's one of those things where with those kind of things, you don't necessarily want the sigil to remain in the front of your mind. Those are things that are kind of working. It's kind of like if you take and you do something on the computer, and it's a thing that it can process a whole bunch of codes while you're doing something else. So what do? You put it, so it's running in the background. So think of sigil art, which is a type of wishing art, in the same vein, where you're setting it off. You pretty much launching it out into the universe, and then kind of just letting it do its work. And when you're letting it do its work, you're not necessarily keeping it in the forefront of your mind. You can move on to other things. So generally, oftentimes when you forget about what they are, and there are some people who will not do single sigils, they will kind of do a batch of things at a time so they can launch them all at once. So then it's kind of easier to forget, and that, so that it can just be working and you're not focusing on it. Because then if you're focusing on it on a regular basis in the front of your mind, then it's defeating its purpose, and your interpretations of how this is going to happen start to can warp things to where it doesn't go the way it should. So it's kind of one of those things of just allowing it to do its work, and kind of sitting there, and then you can every once in a while look at it and acknowledge it, give it the focus without necessarily remembering exactly what it's for. If you are wise when you're making these proclamations or declarations of intent, you don't want something to be written in the negative, because your mind will attach to that negative thing. So I want to be a non-smoker, or I want to stop smoking. Your mind is going to actually have attached to the smoking rather than the non or the stop part. So I want to establish healthy habits that encourage full and healthy breaths, might be a way to say the same thing in an affirmative and positive way. So thinking about your intention statements on that level, knowing that these things often come out take things quite literal. And so if you've ever had those times where the universe takes you a little too literally and you're like, that's not exactly what I meant. It's like, but that's what you said. And so it's like, think about, your intention as something that is targeted and that it, that will be taken as literally or figuratively as the universe decides. And, so you want to be sure you're focusing in as clearly and concisely as possible.
Yeah, for sure. That goes for any kind of magic you're doing. When you set your intention, you want to be careful about it.
Yeah.
Not to put it in the negative sense. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jamie. I agree. The last image that I haven't shown yet is this one, which felt very like shadowy.
That one was painted by foot. There had been an image that I had painted on that panel before, and it just didn't work. And so I painted over it. I had no idea what I was going to paint at the time. It was one of those things where, when you have something you normally like to do, but you're just suddenly finding it to be such an effort to do. Well, that was the point I was at with my painting and things. So I'd taken a break from it. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew that I needed to reclimate that particular piece of wood panel so that I could redo it the way I wanted to, because it was just bugging me what was there. So it was, a bright blue, and I forget the rest of it. It just, just didn't resonate whatsoever and looked very amateur to me. And it had been something I had painted by hand. I know that, because that was around 2013. So it was like right around the time that my carpal tunnel had been acting up worse, and I was afraid that I would have to stop painting altogether. So it's like, I switched to left hand, but that one also has carpal tunnel. So sometimes and it's one of those things where some days I can't paint by foot either because my leg may be in too much pain or spasmy. But sometimes I can. The one thing is I can't stand because my legs will give out without warning, and they're not real good for much of the things that like that. But bending over is something that's very dangerous for me because that's when I oftentimes will have falls. So I learned along the way to kind of grab onto the armrest so that I'm anchored to something, and then use my foot to try and hand my hand something. And so when you're handing your hand something, you start to get a little bit more dexterity in your toes than what somebody else might have. So the overall coordination of my feet sucks, but at times I can at least pick things up with them, which meant then I could do some painting where I could just, use it in the application where it's just like, I can do direct application. I've sometimes used shoes. I've sometimes used paint brushes. And sometimes I'll use sponges or cloths. I like to use a variety of methods so that it gives a better flexibility for options and such. And so yeah, that one we still have because Chris was like, I really want that one. And so I gave that one to my spouse, Chris. But that one was painted. I can't appreciate music in the same way that hearings can, in the sense of, listening to it and just kind of being random with it. For me, music is vibrations and energies and words. I do look at lyrics and stuff like that. But for me, the rhythms and such play a key role. So I will take a tablet or a phone and place it in contact with me so I can feel. And that one, like I said, I had been at a point where I was a bit stymied, but I felt like I really needed to do something artistic, and I needed to do something with that particular piece. And I oftentimes have found like different songs have different energies to them. And I think everybody has experienced, this song that just brought you down because that, reminds you of 8th grade girlfriend breakup or boyfriend breakup, or, test you failed or whatever it is. But you've also had those times where, oh, that just really lifted me up. I love that song. That's such a wonderful song. So the energies of songs can have powerful play. And there are certain songs that really connect to the spiritual energies. And Chris had among their playlist, The Rhythm of the Heat by Peter Gabriel. So that was pretty much on a continuous loop on the cell phone in my pocket. Now, when I did that one, I had actually done it more ceremonially than oftentimes, because I had really been struggling, and I'd found sometimes just painting, you just, you get an idea and you just got to go with it. But there are other times where it's more of, especially when you're struggling with something, there are times where it's like you need to just, develop the ritual, or there's a specific ritual you need to do to kind of break through that barrier. And so I actually, and I had previous experience a couple years prior to that, where I had really found that some of the women's rituals can be very helpful when you're dealing with having, a creative block. And so at those times, it was more a case of sitting sky clad, and I had actually placed a wicker basket, the wicker plate holding baskets, one in each of the 4 corners, with something to represent each of those elements, while I sat in the center of it painting. And I had some wonderful things come out that were probably the best I had ever done it up to that point. So when encountering this particular creative block, and that I had already decided to set the 4-quarter elements and that surround me. Of course, I put myself in the circle, and the lighting ones of candle being definitely distant enough that I don't have to worry about knocking it over. But I had basically done that within a circle, and just that one was one of the ones that just, I think that one was one of the ones that just really, it just knew what it wanted to be as it was happening. And one of the things that I found is, because there are times where my feet will shake because of the CP. And when they do, and that, it's like if I'm painting, oftentimes you end up with, a little bit of tremorings in the paintings. But a lot of times, it's one thing that has led to a lot of times I do a lot more landscaping than I necessarily would like to. But, there are times where other things, and some people-esque images will also appear in the trees oftentimes. So it's one of those things that I have found when trying to apply things like that is, just allow it to choose what wants to be where, using my various types of paints, various types of, applications and such, and just let it develop itself. And the music just really lent itself well to that kind of the gathering and going up the mountain type of feel, and the one part where it almost looks like a deity face coming, kind of looking out towards the people and stuff. So
this one here, this one,
yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm loving what you're bringing us, Jamie. We have to take a little break. And I think hopefully when we come back, maybe someone will offer us a dream so Lacrosse can interpret it for you. If not, I'm sure he'll give us a tip about dreams or something.
Sure.
And hopefully someone will have a dream. And also, Jamie, we get to talk a little bit more with you. And if you want to show us your painting, with your feet. I think that's fabulous. Like, I'm like, man, that's rockin' awesome. Okay, so let's take a little break. And when we come back, we can see a little bit of Jamie's painting and hopefully get a dream interpretation with the cross. Anyway, take a little break. We'll be right back.
Support Rainbow Soul. Check out the Rainbow Soul merchandise for your favorite new shirt. A variety of colors and styles to suit your taste. Show off your love for Rainbow Soul. Get cool designs with your favorite quotes. Designs come in a variety of colors so that you can express your most authentic self. Support Rainbow Soul in spreading the word that queer, gender variant, intersex, transgender is sacred. Rainbow Soul, putting the soul back into queer. Order your unique Rainbow Soul merchandise at rainbowsoul.show. Divine Androgen, a sacred path for gender variant people. A book dedicated to every drag performer, transgender person, and other gender variant people that have passed to the other side, that have suffered the wrath of our binary world. Thank you for living your truth and treading us a path. We are sorry that in many cases that cost you your life. Now, we ask for your assistance in helping humans evolve so that we may all live in peace and equality. We honor your life by walking our own personal path of authenticity. In honor of Trans Awareness Week and Transgender Day of Remembrance, I, Hollis Taylor, put my book, Divine Androgyny, on sale. That's right, you can check it out. It's on sale for the week of November 13th through the 20th on Amazon. You can get it for half the price. You can get it in print. You can order it on ebook. Get this amazing book all about living as a non-binary person, a gender variant person in a binary world. How to navigate it, how to harvest your true self when you're surrounded by binary. It's a guidebook for people searching for their true selves. The book is intended for people that are gender variant and can be helpful for people searching for a more authentic self or clearing trauma. This book is about treading your own path. It includes my story in the beginning, all about how I figured out how I express gender and now how it comes out for me, how I discovered it, and how I dealt in the world as a response to that. And it also details out the ways that I unfolded myself in a way that helped me live in a binary world, even though I was non-binary. There are steps in here to help you define your own path. Hollis uses the word divine androgen. It's like a label to define someone that defines their own authentic path, regardless of their gender expression, in a way to say that it is sacred to be non-binary, to be transgender, to be queer. It is sacred. Not religious. No. We're talking about more of a spiritual, conscious awareness of ourselves and our path on authenticity. This book is about defining your path of authenticity, as authentic and unique as that is for you. Get your book on sale at Amazon from November 13th to November 20th. You can also order the book at divineandrogen.com. There's only 5 more prints until the second edition is released in 2022.
Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So what exactly does that mean? It is a figure of speech in reference to a person who has dabbled in many things rather than gaining expertise by only focusing on one. So much knowledge and wisdom out there at our fingertips, yet so difficult to grasp. Everything and everyone has a little piece of the truth, and it is up to us to determine what our truth is. In this busy world, creating the time, the space to nourish our bodies, mind, and soul has become a difficult task. So let's take a moment to learn something small, in whatever way the universe decides to reveal it. It could be someone's story, a quote, a spiritual practice, maybe a song or a movie. The opportunities are limitless and all around us if we just take a moment to see. We are all students of life experiences, so let us learn from one another. There is no right or wrong path. There is only your path and your journey. So let's begin our adventure and explore all the world has to offer, and let us become a master of none.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
I see we got 2.
Yeah, you got 2 dreams this time. And I think this is Orion Angel. It's still
Yes.
says Facebook user. Orion, you probably have to like close your browser and maybe like reload it or something silly like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's you, Orion Angel. Can just anyone offer up a dream? If so, I constantly have reoccurring dreams that the people I love are dead, missing, or nobody knows them, like they never existed. And an example of that is I'm walking down the aisle and someone other than my husband is at the end. Once it was Donald Trump, but that's a different story. Oh my nightmares. I asked my dad where Brandon is and he says, who? And I try to turn and run, but I'm stuck walking forward.
Oh, that's a pretty intense dream. I want to first reiterate, I've said it on prior shows, dreams, rarely are they prophetic. I'm not going to say they never are, but rarely. Most of the time it is your subconscious. And I've always interpreted as you are everyone in your dream. Now, when I see this, that the people you love are dead or missing, or they never existed. This could feel like, I don't know how to put this. You yourself feel as if people don't see you, or that you don't think you exist. And walking down the aisle, and other than your husband is at the end. So when you're coming down the aisle and you're going to go see somebody at the end, the person you're supposed to be seeing is yourself. And then you end up seeing all these different people who could represent different things in your life. And then when you ask, like, for example, you said you asked your dad where Brandon is, and he said, who? And it kind of, okay, you know who that is. You know who you are, but you don't feel like other people see who you are. That's what I'm getting from this. And then you try and turn and run, but you can't really run from yourself. So, you know, in other words, you can't find, for people to see that you exist. You exist, period. You exist. You don't need any validation. You don't need someone else to say you exist. You do exist. So to me, I think you need to come to terms with that you exist. You are a human being. You have feelings. You're valid, and all your emotions are valid, and everything about you is valid. So that's what I get from that. So maybe that vibed, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they'll say something in a minute.
Mhm.
And then Sandy said, I had a dream that I was at my sister's house and I was looking at a bunch of empty boxes looking for my jewelry. And I knew I had some, but all the boxes were empty. I couldn't find my jewelry anywhere.
It's so funny because I saw that one, and jewelry is treasures. It's your treasures. Think about your jewelry. I mean, diamonds, gold, like these are valuable to us, and you're looking for it. So you're looking in these empty boxes. There's like this void, and you're looking for your treasures, but these treasures actually represent your spiritual treasures, if that makes any sense, or just your existence. It's so funny because both these dreams are kind of coinciding. You're feeling a void and you feel like you lost something valuable. I mean, only you can determine what you feel you lost that's valuable. It could be spirituality, it could be a friend, it could be anything. It could be any type of loss, but you feel like you've lost something. So, and you're looking at empty boxes. So you got to kind of figure out what you lost.
I think this is Orion Angel said, "Here comes the waterworks." So I think it vibed with them for sure. I know that's not being seen as like, it's like the story of a trans person not being seen.
Right.
I think we all struggle with it. So just know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of us struggle with that in so many ways. And they said, I do feel like in every aspect of my life, I'm constantly fighting to prove that I belong, that I deserve to be here and deserve to live. And one of the reasons that gender variant people feel that way, and trans people and non-binary people and all of that, is because our language doesn't give space for other gender expressions. And right now we're still physically correcting intersex people. So we're not even aware, there's tons of intersex people in the world, people that are born with both parts in some way. And it comes in a lot of different ways. And I'm just saying that we pretend those people don't exist. And we definitely try to remove out of our language. We've had a hard time getting people to use they, as if we're asking them, and we're just asking them to see us, that we're outside of the binary. And a transgender person has to fight for their pronouns. And that's part of the reason why we feel as if being trans or non-binary, we feel not seen. That's one of the biggest, I think. Language is so much, like even like Jamie was saying, you have to be careful what you say. And what other people say to you does matter. So if you're a person out there, you're an ally, it does matter what pronoun you use. It totally matters. It's such a big deal. And it's a huge deal what you say about yourself. And what you say out loud. I love what you said, Lacrosse. I think your dream interpretation was right on, spot on. And it looks like it's spot on for them too, And I totally am there in that feeling of not being seen. I get it. And I think also people that are seen as, even if you're not a woman, if you're seen as a woman, then you have like this other issue of, that's the problem with women, that women suffer with all the time, that makes us feel, makes women feel as if they have nothing to offer the world.
Right.
And this is part of the female oppression of the world, right? Where we say it's still not right. That's what we're talking about. Just like people of color also suffer in a different way. People assume all kinds of craziness just because of the color of their skin. So it's unfortunate that that we're not equal, that we're not on an equal playing ground. But Orion, I just want you to know that you are not alone. You are in the right place. We see you, we hear you, and you belong here. And we're glad you're here. Welcome.
I do want to make a point Like, even though these dreams may seem like they're so dark, it is you processing. And it is, dreams are very healing, especially once you figure out what the dream is. It's you processing and healing. And you can take that dream and you could say, well, this is what I'm feeling, and this hurts, and this is how do I begin to heal? And what measures can I take now in my waking life to heal? So they're not always bad. Like, they seem like they're bad, but they're not bad. It's just your brain processing, and it needs to heal. So now that you know if it vibed with you, now you just figure out, what can I do to heal from this? So.
And I think we talked a little bit about that last week. We have a whole show from last week that we talk about how to be trans in a world full of binary people. So Orion, I just encourage you to watch that. And also, you're doing it. This is part of healing, coming and being part of this show, showing up and making sure that you are surrounded by people that see you, that we know you exist, we respect you for who you are, and we see exactly what you present to us. Okay. So I just want to say that's frankly the first step in healing, right, Lacrosse? Because you just
Absolutely
poof, if they don't show up.
Out of my kingdom.
Sandy said earlier.
Yeah.
Sandy said earlier that she found herself poofing people.
Yep, that's it. It's that simple.
And
you are banished.
So if a person doesn't see your pronouns or doesn't see you the way that you need them to see you, Lacrosse says you just
poof.
Just okay. So now you know the trick, the ultimate trick. Which I think it's fantastic, because that's what I do. That's what I do too. I totally do that. Mm-hmm. So you guys, I'm really excited about Jamie. I really have enjoyed hearing about Jamie's art and their expression and how they weave their magic into it. And so I'm hoping to bring Jamie back out. And Jamie, welcome back. Welcome back. And I think we're excited to see just to get a perspective of what it's like to paint with your feet. Like, I think that might be even hard for some people to imagine.
Yeah, and especially because of the fact that my legs don't always work quite right. It's always a little bit more interesting because I never know when my leg's going to decide to cramp up, and so that can make it a little interesting at times. But I've seen some real interesting artwork come out of that too. Now, like I say, the sigil art, if we wanted to do one of those, that, like I say, is a type of wishing art. And so what I do in those cases, I oftentimes, rather than using paint, I oftentimes will use the colored pencils and markers as well with those. And since I'm working in the bedroom here tonight, I'm going to probably use the colored pencils and the markers, because, well, acrylic on the bed doesn't exactly work too well. But yeah, I'm actually going to lower down the location of my canvas too, because I've got it set for a little bit higher. I probably was in the wheelchair itself painting the last time I had used it. So, because sometimes I'm on the floor or the bed at the same height as the canvas, and sometimes I'm in the chair and the canvas is in front of me. So there are various techniques. I like to encourage people who have disabilities to think about options that they can use. I have a device that I had created that helps me with writing at times when my hand is acting up. I can't seem to find it now, though I had it earlier today. It's called a Tuesday Point, and basically it is a piece of neoprene that has Velcro on it that loops around, and there's the hook part of the Velcro has a bit of a loop to it so that you can fit a pencil, a pen, or even a utensil in it. It can be used, if you can point at something, you can use it. You can use it to, like I said, to write. You can use it to feed yourself. You can use it to brush teeth. So that's been something that I've used over the years. I actually need to go ahead and get the preliminary patent on it, because I have started reusing it once I found them again. It's actually been about 10 or 11 years now since I had come up with it. So
yeah, you need to get that out there for other people that struggle with this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that the month of December, once I get done, I'm also a law school student. So right now, plate's pretty full until the 8th of December, when we finally have our school break. So I'm hoping to do some writing and some art over the break, including doing more of the illustrations for my Dru the Draggin Dragon book that I was writing. I've got the manuscript part done, but I'm having to rework a couple of the pictures because I didn't like how they turned out.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. Wow, you are a very busy person.
I have actually done a performance of it, which is posted on YouTube. I'll probably be posting it on my WordPress, JamieAngel.arts.wordpress, I believe it's .com, if I'm not wrong. I'll be putting it up there, and probably on my Jamie Angel Arts is what my Facebook page is under. I'll probably be posting a link to it there as well. So yeah, and I actually dressed up as Dru the Draggin Dragon for Halloween at school this year. And then normally when I do the performance thereof, I have my face painted, because Dru the Draggin Dragon is a non-binary dragon who basically has some differences in that they have to adapt to, but they also like to do drag. So it's, that's why they're a dragon, because, well, they have a little bit of a thing with their left leg, and they also like to do drag. So it's a double meaning there, and kind of addresses, how, this young dragon really enjoys doing the performances. But when people start getting, too personal, asking, are you really a boy or are you a girl? And it's like, Dru tells them, I'm not a boy and I'm not a girl. I'm just me, and that's all I have to be. Why does society need to sort us into circles and pegs based just upon what's between our legs? And basically, don't act like I've got something to hide when I'm just being true to what's inside. And so I think it's a message that a lot of young people need, and a lot of the adults who don't necessarily know how to handle some of this. It's like, okay, respect their privacy. You can wonder all you want, but keep it to yourself, because it's really not your business to begin with.
Unless we're going to bed together, right?
Some are born as both, some are born as neither, but that's really not your business either. So yeah, so I'm excited about those things, and yeah, hoping to do a bit more of the sigil arts. I'm trying to think if there's anything specific that we might want to do one for tonight. If somebody has a intention or idea that they would like us to do, kind of something that would pertain to all of us, or pertain to, that each of us can choose something. If somebody wants to do their own along with too, that's fine. But yeah, I'd like to do something that would be, uplifting to everybody.
Well, immediately I say, Orion's asking what an intention is. We talked about it a little bit earlier, which is an intention is like where we say, I'm hoping to, manifest healthier habits. You don't want to say, I want to stop smoking, because you'll tend to focus on the smoking and not the stop part. So instead, when you set your intention, you want to try to keep it in the positive. So that would be, so another way of saying I want to quit smoking would be like to say, I hope to manifest healthy habits, right? Okay. And it's okay. It's okay, Orion. Don't worry about it. It's okay. We don't mind repeating it. And I think a great intention that everyone could probably get on base is that, I don't know if you guys have explored it, but like the rainbow flag, the non-binary flag, the transgender flag, all of them have meaning. Meaning that the colors stand for something. Like the transgender flag is pink and blue, yeah, but there's also a white line, and who does that represent? That represents everybody else. So if you're not a trans man or a trans woman, if you're in between, then that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what the white line is for. It's to include all gender expressions, even the people that are transitioning or questioning. And so one of the things that I thought was really cool that I've seen, that I think is really cool, is if you can integrate the colors. And I think rainbow is fantastic because rainbow includes all of us. And if we can see it that way.
I'm going to probably have a moment. My tablet is just about down to 10%. So I'm going to need to switch over to the laptop to have the view on. So they'll take me a moment.
Okay. I think you can come in more than once on that link, Jamie, if you need to. You could come in more than once on that same link.
I think.
Yeah, so having artwork that represents everyone, I think, is really fabulous. Where, like, I thought it was really fascinating to look at all the different flags and what they mean and what the colors mean. I don't know if your Trans Week of Awareness, if anyone else has come across that, but why do we have this, like the non-binary flag, which is more like purple and black and white, so I just thought all of that stuff was really fascinating, like just to explore that. And there's an andro flag.
No, I didn't know that.
There's an androgen flag that represents androgynous people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's at the end. It's at the end of that video I put together for the book, for my book. And so I'm just distracting while Jamie gets their tablet together. But yeah, it was it's an androgen flag. And so for me, I was like, wow. And it has green and some more like, I think it also has like a burgundy color and a blue color. So it wasn't like, pink and blue, like the trans flag. But, and I thought it was interesting that the stripes went the other way. So they're this way instead of stripes this way.
Oh, so they're more vertical?
Yeah, they're three vertical stripes. And I was like, wow, okay, well, that's a totally different flag, because there's some really great imagery out there that represents everybody. And of course, there's the newest modern pride flag with people of color that represents people of color. And now we've added the intersex symbol, which I totally love. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Because intersex people are so on our side. Their stories are profound. I've been moved by their stories over and over again. Just that they start to think they're trans or that they're gender variant or something.
Right.
And then they find out that they're intersex, which has its own set of scars in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
So I haven't had that experience, so I won't talk about it too much, but I've read people's experiences. You should definitely look into it if you are a gender variant person of any kind. You should definitely, just read about the stories of intersex people, because they'll help you understand that you're actually more normal than you thought you were.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so Orion's saying, so I wanted to create an intention to heal from my rejection sensitive dysphoria. So thinking about that, okay. So that sounds like with dysphoria and rejection being sort of part of that, that you actually want to express yourself confidently and authentically. So you still want to represent yourself exactly how you are, but you also want to do it in a confident manner.
Yeah.
So instead of saying you want to heal this dysphoria or this rejection, the fear of rejection and all of that kind of, that's what it sounds like is happening for you. Instead, you want to represent yourself as confident and authentic. Yeah. And I will tell you that once you come to terms with your authenticity, and I think Lacrosse, you would probably vibe with this. Once you come to terms with it yourself personally, inside your heart and soul, and you truly accept yourself, it's easier to walk in the world confidently.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you decide no one else has any right to tell you anything wrong about your authenticity, about your authentic expression, whatever that might be. So
the one thing
I think, go ahead, Jamie.
The one thing with intention statements is you are not necessarily limited to time and space. So if there's a future you want to see, you can speak it in the now. And like, for example, I am well received and appreciated, for example, might be something that you'd want to put out there as a way of, opening up yourself to the acceptance that is out there, because sometimes it's a matter of our own self-doubts don't allow us to believe that there's any possibility of such a future. But when you start to put that into a sigil or something, it works on a subconscious level and starts, hey, I like that about myself, or something, or whether it's looking in the mirror and this beard that I've had for about 2-3 years now, that used to bother the daylights out of me, because people always were, certain people, well-meaning, were like, you might want to tweeze or what have you. You know what? I like it now, and I'm happy with it, and it works for me, and I don't have to be something that somebody else said. So some of it is not necessarily changing circumstances, but changing yourself and how you react to them. So a lot of times, so there is the philosophy that magic works on the person who's working it, and that, so putting something positive that's the present tense that you want to be living in and experiencing, and that accepting it as achieved.
I know there's a interesting thing. I always say flip the script, and what I mean by that, instead of saying nobody sees me, I'm seen. And in other words, flip your script. So if you want, not that I don't feel validated, I'm valid. So just flip your script and change it. It's verbiage, because what we speak out is what becomes. And sadly, when we speak out negatively, it opens doors for other people to treat us that way. When you don't open the door for people to treat you that way, and you basically speak out and it's not a matter of thinking it. It's just make it a matter of fact. And that's like, I know that's something that I came to. I had to change my verbiage. I had to flip my own script. So
Me too. I totally had to. I used to all the time have language that opened the door for other people to mistreat me. And still to this day, I still sometimes catch myself doing it. And I go, oh man, I got to change that. And that's what, Orion, that's what my book, Divine Androgyny and Divine Androgen, that's what I'm talking about. That's one of the big steps in the path of the divine androgen. It's and the book is all about defining your own path and dealing with being a non-binary person in a binary world. That's what it's all about. Okay. Yes, exactly, Orion. That does make sense. It'll maybe stop the cycle of me getting mad at myself when I start my downward spiral, which only makes me spiral faster. Of course. Yeah, because you know what? No one knows how to hurt us better than us. Yeah. We are excellent self-sabotage people. Humans are masters at hurting themselves. Why? Because we know our most intimate details about ourselves. Right. And I think that's exactly what is happening. I think that's what happens to a lot of us trans people. I think that's why we struggle.
And another thing is would you talk to somebody else that way? Would you talk to somebody else and say, man, you're a loser, man, you're this or that? No, God, we would never do that.
That's right.
Yeah. So my wife taught me a beautiful lesson. If I were to say something negative about myself, no, you don't talk about my husband that way. You don't talk about my love that way. I don't like that, And I'm like, ooh, okay, no. Big check mark. Got the big marker, and I had to check myself.
Right, and so here, I do describe my brain as a bully. I negative self-talk myself so badly, especially when I make any kind of mistakes that trigger my dysphoria. You know what? Your dysphoria is what makes you special and a good person. Mm-hmm. It's what brings out the authentic you. It's what makes you who you are. Yeah. So don't always be afraid of your dysphoria either. When my dysphoria happens, I'm just like, I'm feeling dysphoric. I'm feeling like people aren't quite seeing all of me, that I'm both. And I start to feel uncomfortable in my body. And I will tell people I'm feeling dysphoric. That helps me feel dysphoric. And the next thing you know, people are like, dysphoric? And I use it as an educational moment, especially if it's safe space. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Jamie's gotten started. And is that a colored pencil that you're using or a pen? Looks like a pen. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Fantastic. Well, we'll watch you and we'll also keep up the chatting a little bit at the same time. And Orion, it's all good, man. We totally get it. All of us get it. You're in safe space. That's exactly what this is all about. That's exactly why we do Rainbow Soul. That's why me and Lacrosse do this. Yeah. We both talked about it. One of the things that we want to do is bring medicine forward for people so that you can find ways to express yourself, because the fact that you are a gender bender, I don't care how you do it. And I don't even know if you're non-binary, if you're trans, I don't even know what your pronouns are, but I'm just going to say that you are sacred. It's okay. You know why it's okay, Orion? You know why it's okay that we're paying a lot of attention to you? I'm just going to say this because you are not the only one. Mm-hmm. There are hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of people just like you trying to get through life right now.
Right.
And all three of us, Jamie included, Lacrosse included, and me, we're all here. We're just trying to help you. We're just trying to help you because we got to figure it out. and we've been through the same crap, same shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes time. It takes time to get out of that mentality. It's not something that happens over. It believe it or not, it's discipline and training that we have to do for ourselves to keep ourselves on track. So
exactly. And I think that, and like Jamie's offerings about doing painting where you get to, do your intention, and Jamie's doing a painting right now that includes you, Orion. It includes me, it includes lacrosse, it includes every gender variant person out there in the world, and every queer, every GLBTQP person, because that's what the flag is for. That's what drag is for. That's what the community is for. So that you always know that you are loved and valued, and that you are perfectly sacred and perfect just the way you are. It's really important. Most of us don't believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Facts.
Most of us struggle with these facts. In my opinion, they're facts. That transgender people are sacred.
Absolutely.
You are a sacred person. And I mean that in the umbrella term. So that means they, them, gender fluid, gender queer, gender variant, non-binary, however it comes through for you. Look at this, Jamie. Wow. I'm just saying that, like, Jamie is proof that if one thing doesn't work the way you want it to work, you can make it work.
Yeah.
That's right, Orion. So I hope that you can take that same. Orion said that that's what they tell their preschoolers. They're wonderful and beautiful just as they are. And if you can say that to the preschoolers, I'm hoping that you can say that to yourself too. Yeah. Practice speaking to yourself as if you were a preschooler.
Yep. Absolutely.
And your inner child will really appreciate that.
My inner child's always running loose.
So
we were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my inner child likes to color. So sometimes, so I'm wondering if Jamie's inner child is coloring right now.
Right. Right.
And we all have inner child, and that's actually really good for you. It's great therapy. So
yeah, definitely.
It's really great therapy. Wow, Jamie, this is really amazing. And I really appreciate watching you do this. Like, I'm just like, wow. I mean, and I'll tell you what, some of my greatest friends are some of the most amazing friends that I have some sort of disability and are living with some sort of disability, and they amaze me. I'm just like, wow. What a way to overcome whatever you were given and to make it into something beautiful.
Yeah.
And that is truly talent. To take something that others would have seen as a curse or hard or a struggle. And I'm sure some people see trans people that way. I'm pretty sure. Wow. I don't know. Jamie, you'll have to show us. I don't know if Jamie can hear us. They don't exactly hear well. So yeah, but maybe Jamie can show us this eventually. Hopefully we can see it. I'm sure they will show us eventually. But I just want to say that as a gender variant person, and to meet Jamie and get to know Jamie as an artist and as a performer, I think that's pretty, wow.
Yeah.
It's the kind of people that you can find inspiring. If you need to be inspired, go meet somebody with CP or
yeah.
I put letters in, and see, there's different ways of doing it. You can write your intention statement and cross out the vowels and just put the consonants in, you can take and not only do that, but eliminate, the duplication of consonants, and then just put them into a sigil format, putting all the letters that remain in a way that it forms some sort of a picture or something. Or you can do like I tend to do. And this one I was using different colors at each point. Sometimes I write it. A lot of times I tend to like to write it all in script, formulating the encapsulating lines, and then I go back and I will color it in with various colors. This one I did all the lettering in. What I could put is, I am empowered and loved.
Nice.
Adding some water to it, so it should end up with it creating some lovely lines and shapes and color variations in it.
Wow.
Oftentimes, if I do that, things start to formulate into various imaging. Change the.
Oh my gosh. They did just change paint brushes from one side to the other. Wow. Good job, Jamie.
If you need to go before it is completed, we can always post the results onto the page as well.
Yeah, we will. We're down in the last few minutes of the show.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just say that I have really appreciated you, Jamie. I assume you can hear me, Jamie, or you can see what I'm saying.
It's on the monitor to my left.
Okay, good. See what I mean? Again, talented.
Mhm.
Somehow they're painting and reading what I have to say.
Yeah, that's talk about multitasking. That's amazing.
Right? And I just want to say thank you, Orion, for letting me know that it's they. So I was correctly gendering you. So fantastic. And I want to say that I really appreciate you, Jamie. I really appreciate all the ways in which you express yourself and the magic that you brought here today, showing us how we can put our intention in our painting and really paint it into there. I know that a little bit earlier, Brighthawk is a painter.
Yeah.
And she said, wow, amazing painting with your feet. You're incredible. And I'm just, wow, look at that. It's beautiful, colorful.
Yeah.
Really colorful. Well, hold
that
on.
Actually, somewhere that actually looks like a person.
Here we go.
You see, like somebody just, it actually looks like somebody standing there. Oh.
It's what reminded me of the lady with the bun on Bugs Bunny years ago. There's usually in my art, some faces or figures appear at different points. And what I notice is what looks almost like there's a person here, but there's also a spot that maybe a person right next to them. So kind of a parallel tract, which actually makes a lot of sense because being empowered means being in the forefront, but not necessarily in a lot of ways, but it doesn't necessarily mean being alone. And being loved, there's another person there.
Right.
So. Wow. That's really awesome. Like, wow. I'm just blown away because I mean I could pick up a pen with my feet, but I'm not sure I could. But
I feel pretty impressed with that if I could pick something up with my feet because I'm too lazy to bend over. I'm like, oh, there we go. I'm impressed with that. But that's amazing.
I agree, Jamie. You are an impressive, inspiring person. And to do drag and you can't hear the music. Go ahead.
I have to go by vibrations. I'm hoping to take paintings. Yes. And I memorize a lot of the stuff I tend to be older because I remember it from back before that last part of the hearing went. So that helps. I'm hoping to take and over my break time also put some of my artwork into card decks to use for Oracle decks.
Oh.
And that I'm hoping to do one with my artwork and one with ordinary items that I've encountered, in walking my dog and things like that. That would be great messagings on things and that as a Oracle deck as well. So.
Wow, fantastic. That's really amazing. I want to keep up with you. Make sure you watch Jamie's connect with Jamie on social media. I'm sure that they'll post information as they develop their art and as they get things going. And like if you ever do get a deck or anything, I'd be happy to look at it and even use it. Because I love to connect with decks, So, in fact, speaking of decks, I'm going to do a little reading for everybody. This is the Love is Love deck. This deck is, each card is done by a different gender variant, a different LGBTQIA person. And I encourage you to check it out. You can check it out, and it's called Pride. And the other cool part about this is collaboration, because I think collaboration is magic. When you come together with other people, it's not an easy thing to do. Okay. And you have to let down your ego, and you have to be willing to meet them halfway, and you have to be fair about things. And I think that that's what this deck means to me. It means that you can come together with people. You can find healthy people that you want to partner with, that you want to work with. And I'm not just talking about in romantic ways. I'm talking about friendships and business and everything else. So I'm pulling out 3 cards for us tonight to see what we have. And this first card really always opens my heart up, because it is all about our emotional scars, which I think we were talking about a little bit, right? The scars where the emotions overtake us, the part of us that that doesn't have great self-talk, when we say not so great things to ourselves. That's what this is all about. This represents our scars. And a lot of those do come from our past. See how this person has 2 cups behind them? That's because those things are coming from your past. The emotions that this person is feeling are actually a reverberation of some trauma or some way that happened probably in your childhood or before. And that happens a lot for most of us. I think most of us carry something forward. And so this is about your past, and this is about where you're coming from. And the next card is a really powerful, it's like a cat-like character. I'm trying to get a good, clean image on it. And you can see, let me try to turn the light a little bit. There we go. It's getting darker here during the day. So you can see that this is like a cat-like creature, cat-like character. I'm going to do this. This will help. This is a cat-like character, and they're sort of they have like their wand, and they're throwing it about. And this is the Queen of Wands. And this is meant to tell us that we are in control of our thoughts and how they come through, and that we can use them to do our power. So it's a reminder and a validation of exactly what Jamie was saying. That's exactly what this card is saying. This card is saying that you are in control of your thoughts and where they take you and which direction they take you. And that's what the Queen of Wands is all about. It's about mastering your thoughts. And this is the future. This is where we're going. This card here, you can see this is a non-binary person holding a sword, which swords represent thoughts and our words, especially when our thoughts lead us to our words, right? And you can see that this person is using their words to bring light to the world, bring light forward. So I just want to let you in on a little secret. What happens is that when we are able to heal our wounds, when we're able to master our wounds, when we're able to take a look at them and find a way to direct them then we are able to bring the light to the world. That's how it goes. And that's how this works. So I just want to encourage you to make sure that you're looking at all three of these pieces here. You know, look at your emotions, deal with what you got to deal with, especially what's in the past. Master your thoughts, master the way they're taking you and where they're leading you. And you know, listen to that, to your thoughts and where they're coming from, and change them if you need to. And that's exactly what this is all about. It's empowering. See the little rainbow down, the little, that's all about, it's all about the way we shift things, about the control that we have. And this is all about bringing your light to the world. And that's what it's all about. So I just wanted,
I was gonna say, it actually looked like he's, or they are poofing somebody out of the kingdom.
poof, you're
Poof.
gone. You are just a shadow in the background.
Right? That's epic.
We're poofing people all over the place. All right, it's been a beautiful night. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you so much, Jamie, and thank you, Lacrosse, and thank you, Orion, and everyone else, Sandy, and everyone else that catching the show tonight. I think Eric is here. So everybody that watched the show tonight, and anybody that's watching it in the future, the replay, you can play it. Please share. Please subscribe. Please spread the word. You have some gender variant friends, please spread the word. And thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for sending your love, and thank you and good night.
Thank you for watching Rainbow Soul, a queer perspective on spirituality beyond religion. We appreciate you sharing the show on your timeline. Follow us on social media of your choice, and join our Facebook group, Rainbow Soul. We want to hear from you. Share your topic ideas for Hollis and Lacrosse. Explore upcoming shows and interesting guests. The Rainbow Soul Facebook group, where we build community of questioning seekers. Rainbow Soul, where spirituality is our medicine.
Support Rainbow Soul. Check out the Rainbow Soul merchandise for your favorite new shirt. A variety of colors and styles to suit your taste. Show off your love for Rainbow Soul. Get cool designs with your favorite quotes. Designs come in a variety of colors so that you can express your most authentic self. Support Rainbow Soul in spreading the word that queer, gender variant, intersex, transgender is sacred. Rainbow Soul, putting the soul back into queer. Order your unique Rainbow Soul merchandise at rainbowsoul.show.